So,
Okay, good. Good evening, all attendees and panelist team. I am warm welcoming to Dr. Narendra Patel for today's session. Today he is our resource persons. I am behalf of the New Indian Education Research Society and the Udaram Siddharvi College management team. I am welcoming him. Uh, so Dr. Behul Contractor giving words towards Dr. Narendra Patel. So Dr. Mehul Contractor.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all the viewers, all the participants, and those who are on Facebook Live. Today is a wonderful day that I could say that I can enroll in my notebook. The morning session was wonderful with Dr. Alairani sir. He explained very well about the spine and its manipulation and treatments. And then again in the evening, we are back with the one of the renowned knee replacement surgeon, I would rather say, located in Surat, Dr. Narendra Patel. He is specialized in the knee replacement surgery. He is having his own clinic, knee refresh clinic in the Surat itself. Also, he has one more hospital, that is Anupam Hospital, that is located near Parvat Patya in Surat. And I met Dr. Narendra Patel in 2011 in Sumandip Vidyapit, a long, long way. And still we are together in today's life also since 10 years. So one of the, I would rather say the emotional bonding is quite far more, than the professional bonding with the Dr. Narendra Patel. And today I have an opportunity to describe you as a professional. So one of the, glittering star in my professional life that I could have an opportunity to describe one of my good friend, Dr. Narendra Patel. So not wasting much of a time, the one message to all the students that I would like to pass is, sir will explain in detail about osteoarthritis, and the important thing about the student is when to preserve knee and when to operate knee. Means नी को कब आप कंजर्वेटिवली ट्रीट करोगे और कब आप ऑपरेटिव प्रोसीजर में जाओगे. कंजर्वेटिवली अगर जाते हो तो पोस्ट आपको जो फिजियोथेरेपी जो होती है अलोंग विद मेडिसिन, and then post operative is the physiotherapy. So mainly the student need to understand and take away from the today's webinar is when to preserve knee and when to operate knee. Okay, because many of the clinicians might be viewing this webinar all over the globe, Facebook live through, right? In that sense, the clinician must come to know when the patient coming to the department with the pain of knee, how to differentially diagnose, and if you are coming to the conclusion that it is osteoarthritis of knee, then to give the right advice whether to preserve the knee or whether to operate knee. So this is the today's topic, very interesting topic. So now we're not wasting much of our time. Sir, over to you. Go ahead.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mehul Patel and Prakash Patel, sir, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be with you all and the Udaram Physiotherapy College and the VN campus. So everyone who is listening me, आप लोग जो इस वेबिनार में मेरे साथ है इस स्क्रीन पे और फेसबुक लाइव में, that is a privilege for me to be with you. And the today's topic, osteoarthritis knee. I would rather describe first of all myself as not just a replacement surgeon, but also an arthroscopist and sports medicine specialist. And I believe in joint preservation first, and then if required, then we go for a replacement. So that's the whole spectrum. I treat knee as like a whole organ, and it needs a special care. So this is my passion to work in the area of knee in all types of problem, and to be like, to give the best result to the patients. So today we are going to look at one of the very important subject of knee osteoarthritis. Although osteoarthritis happens to all the joints of the body, but one of the commonest joint is knee. So we will today look at what is knee osteoarthritis, how does it develop, what are its stages, and how do we manage to get the best quality of results. So before we go ahead, before we move, we need to know about basic anatomy of the knee joint. So these slides will tell you about that knee joint is made up of the upper bone, that is called femur, lower bone, tibia, and it is supported by 6 important structures. Like side ligaments are collateral ligaments.
Sir, sorry to disturb.
Yeah.
Sir, sorry to disturb. Can you put it your slide in a presentation mode?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for reminding me. Is it okay now?
Thank you, sir. Now it is good.
Thank you for reminding. Yeah, so as I already said, the femur and tibia bone is supported on the side by collateral ligaments that doesn't allow the knee to move side to side. Another is vertical load, like that is meniscus, that does not allow us to get any jerks while we walk or run. जब हम दौड़ते या कूदते हैं तो meniscus हम अपना protection देता है. It acts as a shock absorber. And the third and important structure is cruciate ligaments, which are cross ligaments in the center of the knee joints. Now that prevents the knee to go in forward or backward position. Now these crucial ligaments, apart from that, we have a quadriceps mechanism, that is quadriceps muscle, patella and patellar tendon, and that glides over the trochlea of the femur, and because of that we get the sliding smooth knee bending. And the one of the very important structure is cartilage. Now this cartilage is here is a pink structure that you can see. My cursor is moving across the cartilage that is in the front of the femur bone as well as in the upper surface of the tibia. ये femur के ऊपर के part में है और tibia के भी ऊपर के part में है. So that will allow no pain. We don't have any pain. It is an avascular and aneural structure, so we don't get any pains. We are getting very smooth movement of the knee when it bends, when we walk, when we jump, anytime. But arthritis is basically a disease of this cartilage. So arthritis starts with the problem in this cartilage area that we will see in the next slides. So this is the basic anatomy of the knee joint. We'll move further. Yes. Another important thing we need to know about the lower limb is the lower limb works on the hip, knee and ankle axis. That starts from the center of the, if we draw a line, अगर हम एक line draw करते हैं center of the hip joint that to the center of the ankle joint through center of the knee joint. जब ये 3 point एक line में होते हैं, then we can see our limb is in a balanced position. And the load in the inner compartment of the knee joint, that is medial compartment, and the outer compartment of the knee joint is equalized. And we can see here that we can simulate it with the balancing act, both sides the balance is equal, right? So normal knee function is basically a function of two things: a healthy cartilage status and a good knee alignment. These two things are very mandatory for the knee to work normal and functional. To simulate the analogy, जब हम लोग कार में हम लोग every 6 months or 1 year we do car alignment and balancing. Why? Because if as the car goes alignment goes out, so on a frequent interval we go to a mechanic to balance our tires. If we don't balance our tires, then the car tire life will be less. You can see eccentric wear of the tire here on one side. This is because if the tire is not balanced, one side of the tire will get early worn out. So this is an analogy that same thing happens if our hip, knee and ankle axis is not normal, or if the cartilage is damaged, gradually we will get abnormal axis of the knee joint. So either the cartilage get damaged and then the axis get more into the varus alignment, or it may be possible कि पहले varus alignment हो और उसके बाद में cartilage starts degrading early. So arthritis basically starts from the cartilage. The root cause is wear and tear process of the cartilage. Here we can see it starts from the medial compartment. अंदरूनी जो कंपार्टमेंट है उधर से कार्टिलेज अर्ली वॉर्न आउट होता है, एंड ग्रेजुअली एवरी पार्ट ऑफ द फीमर एंड टिबियल कार्टिलेज गेट्स वॉर्न आउट, along with that meniscus gets thinned out, and this can be supported by age of the patient. obesity of the patient. As the age increases, the chances of arthritis increases. Weight increases, chances increases. If patient has trauma prior, it can of arthritis of the knee joint, or at times hereditary. It may be a kind of like Warsaw. So we can see here that it is a normal alignment of the knee joint in this left-sided photograph of the leg, and in the right side you can see the knee has started bending and the medial compartment started loading more, and because of that the cartilage on the medial side of medial compartment will worn out early. So if we talk about the pathogenesis of OA, it is like balance between the catabolism and anabolism. When we are in the early stages of life, like in adulthood or younger age group, then our regeneration process is faster than degeneration. But as the age progresses, degeneration takes the load faster than regeneration, and then we are getting the changes of arthritis. So osteoarthritis is a biological problem to begin with, then the mechanical axis deviation gets added in, and then it becomes a complex problem. Let us see the stages of the knee arthritis. So if the first X-ray that you can see here is the normal knee X-ray. You can see the outer and the inner compartment, the space. Here the black shadow, the space in between the femur and tibia. जो यहाँ पे स्पेस दिख रहा है टीबिया और फीमर के बोन के बीच में, वो एकदम इक्वल है अंदर और बाहर. लेकिन जैसे जैसे आर्थराइटिस की शुरुआत होती है, यू कैन सी जो अंदरूनी जगह जल्दी से कम होने लगी है. In grade 1 there is a slight reduction. In grade 2 it reduces more. If you appreciate, in grade 3 the reduction in the joint in the medial compartment in grade 3 is quite more, and in grade 4 it is a bone to bone disease. The femur touches tibia, and in the extreme grade 4 you can see there is a varus, extreme varus. The knee is bow-legged, and a simulation of the hip knee ankle axis. You can see the yellow line in the normal, it is passing through center. In grade 1 it is off the center but slight. In grade 2 still more. In grade 3 it is in the middle of medial compartment, and in grade 4 it started getting out and extreme on the medial side. So you can see the change in the axis and the reduction in the medial compartment of the knee joint. Now, very simple to diagnose. Most of the cases we diagnose by symptoms and signs. Patients are mostly old-aged patients. Usually patients obesity, currently sedentary life, no exercise. ये सब चीजों के कारण arthritis has started coming early in between the 30 to 40 also, early grades of arthritis. So it is now not a disease of old age, it's a disease of middle to old age. And so we diagnose by clinical pain, swelling of the knee joint, then difficulty in limping while walking, pain on the medial compartment of the knee joint. Activities of daily life are compromised, like walking, standing, cross-leg sitting, and squatting. Most of the time we can diagnose on X-ray. We don't need any other diagnosis than X-ray. And as I already said, we can divide them into different stages according to the space on the X-ray we can see. We can take a normal X-ray, but important is weight-bearing X-ray that we can take in the standing view rather than lying down view. In standing view, the load on the knee joint will give us a better idea how much is the joint space compromised. जब हम खड़े रहते हैं तो स्पेस ज्यादा कॉम्प्रोमाइज होती है, तो पता चलता है कि कौन सा स्टेज एक्यूरेटली है. MRI and a scanogram, that is rarely needed. MRI and scanogram are better important in early age, like when the patient presents in between the 30 to 50, because these are younger group of patients and we are not planning replacement in these cases. We want to save the joint. हम वो joint preserve करना चाहते हैं. तो उसके लिए स्कैनोग्राम, मतलब में जो हमने हिप नी एंकल एक्सिस का जो फोटो किया वो हमको एक्सरे निकालना है. और MRI, if we need to know about the status of the cartilage and other ligament integrity and the patellofemoral joint integrity, that is why we need MRI cases. So let's go with the first stage of arthritis. Here you can appreciate again that the joint space in the first X-ray, a picture is showing the joint space is normal in both medial and lateral compartment. And here you can appreciate the inner compartment has a reduction in the space. These patients are usually in the age group of 30 to 45. They started complaining of occasional knee pain or pain while having excessive activity of the knee joint or extreme knee positions like knee bending or so. So this is how they present usually. They don't have a consistent and regular knee problem most of the time. So these patients do present in this age group. And what is the goal of the treatment of these patients? So after diagnosis, the goal is we have to relieve the pain, and if there is any stiffness, अगर कोई जकड़न है तो उसको दूर करके we have to increase the function and mobility of the patient. And the long-term goal is to stop or slow the progression of the disease to allow it to go to progressive stages of 2, 3, and 4, and at least to avoid or delay the need of knee replacement, because the arthritis is an aging process. We cannot reverse it completely, but definitely we can delay it to a great extent, and we can give a good quality and functional life to the patient if they come to consultations and treatment early. So these are the goals, and it requires a team approach. The team approach from the orthopedic surgeon, team approach from a physiotherapist, and patient himself or herself. So what is the role of orthopedic? So orthopedic role is to diagnose, to counsel the patients about the progression of the disease and its stages, and to provide supportive treatment in the early part, which consists of a knee brace, if required some medications, and chondroprotective drugs. Now these are like, you must have heard about glucosamine, chondroitin sulfate, rosehip extract, like different names, but there are no proven scientific literature that says that it can prevent the disease, but it can definitely have some important role in giving a good quality life to patient. The another supportive part is from the physiotherapist. Now, if patient has pain, definitely patient ज़्यादा चलेगा नहीं, or he will try to control himself. He or she will try to control. So the job of a physiotherapist is to give a proper knee rehab, give strengthening of the muscle to avoid the disused muscle wasting, keep muscle strength intact, and at the same time to work on reduction of the weight, because weight is a very important thing. Generally, our BMI 25 is the ideal. More than 25, up till 30, you are in the mild obesity. From 30 to 35, you are moderate, and from 35 onwards, you are severe obesity. So as the obesity is higher, you have a earlier changes of arthritis possible in your knee joint. So it is better, more you reduce your weight to normal BMI weight, more your chances to have a less degeneration of the knee joint or delayed knee degeneration. Third important part is patient. Patient has to do dietary regulations to avoid, like, foods that increase the weight, work on weight reduction, and avoid deep positions like squatting and cross leg sitting. Now, in Indian scenario, हमारी इंडियन संस्कृति में ये है कि नीचे बैठना, पल्लाटी मार के बैठना और इंडियन टॉयलेट में बैठना, इट्स अ नॉर्मल प्रोसीजर, नथिंग रॉन्ग अबाउट इट. जस्ट वंस यू स्टार्ट, इट इज नॉट कि आपको अगर आर्थराइटिस नहीं है तो आपको नीचे नहीं बैठना चाहिए. यू कैन डेफिनेटली सिट, बट वंस यू स्टार्ट गेटिंग सिम्टम्स ऑफ आर्थराइटिस, if you avoid or reduce or restrict your use of squatting and cross leg sitting, then your chances of having less damage, because the joint reaction force in these two positions are higher than in standing and walking and any other position. So that's a part towards the patient. So the team approach by orthopedic physician, physiotherapist and patient is very crucial in the stage 1 disease. One important thing is an offloader knee brace. As we see, the X-ray here shows that reduction in the medial compartment joint space, and there is a varus axis. So if we can give a force such that the medial compartment opens up, then it might help in reduction in the medial overloading. So this brace, where the at the level of femur and tibia, there is a lateral force, and at the center there is a medial force that opens up the medial joint space. Now in the stage 1 disease, It is helpful to reduce the requirement of analgesics, and patient can have a control of symptoms. So in the stage 1, offloader knee brace is an important part of the treatment regime. If the patients are not better with analgesics, physiotherapy, and dietary educations and everything, exercise and everything, then another option is intra-articular injection delivery. Now, what are the options of intra-articular injections? The first is viscosupplement, that is hyaluronic acid injections. Another is PRP therapy, platelet-rich plasma injection, and third is corticosteroids, that is steroid injections. Now, the advantage of this injection therapy is we reduce the systemic drug exposure. We reduce the chances that patient has to take oral medication, and it has a lesser side effects, systemic side effects. It increases the bioavailability in the knee joint. जॉइंट के अंदर उसका जो कंसंट्रेशन है वो बढ़ जाता है, तो बॉडी में उसकी साइड इफेक्ट्स नहीं होती है. जस्ट वी हैव टू टेक केयर कि while doing this procedure, asepsis has to be maintained to avoid infection. Let's to look at the viscosupplementation, that is hyaluronic acid injection. अगर हम जॉइंट में hyaluronic है, that is a normal knee constituent. अपने घुटने के अंदर जो लिक्विड होता है, that has a main important structure of hyaluronic acid. So it acts as a joint lubricant. So it lubricates the knee joint. वो एक तैयार प्रिपरेशन होता है जिसका इफेक्ट 6 मंथ और एट टाइम्स अगर आप अर्ली हो तो 1 ईयर तक इसका इफेक्ट रह सकता है. द इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इज इट इज नॉन risky. It has nothing, it doesn't create any side effect, so you can repeatedly take it. So it's better in the early stages where you are not thinking of any surgery. It is better to go with viscosupplement injection, and along with that you can go with like physiotherapy, weight reduction, knee brace that can take care of your knee problem in the early stages. Another alternative injection is platelet rich plasma injection. Now we all know जब when we get some wound in the body, अपने को कहीं पे कोई घाव होता है तो तुरंत वो हील हो जाता है, क्योंकि वहां पे प्लेटलेट्स एग्रीगेट करते हैं और वहां से ग्रोथ फैक्टर निकलते हैं, वो वुंड हीलिंग करता है. उसी तरह से जब प्लेटलेट को ब्लड से एक्सट्रैक्ट किया जाता है इन कॉन्सेंट्रेशन मैनर, देन वी कैन इंजेक्ट दैट इनटू, like in this way we take a sample of blood with centrifuge, and the red portion is red and the below it's platelet rich layer, so we inject that into the knee joint. It has no side effects, it can be taken repeatedly, and it helps in cartilage being healthy and to some extent to regenerate the cartilage. So early stages it might help in giving quality of life. And it can be a good alternative to hyaluronic acid. And even at times we combine, like we give one HA and then after some time we give one PRP, because they are synergistic, they can help each other. Like, and as the PRP is a patient's own blood, it helps in a natural healing therapy. It has no adverse reactions and it can be repeated, and it helps in delaying the osteoarthritic progression. Another is a steroids. Methylprednisolone or Kenacort injection is a very important thing. It's a strong anti-inflammatory action, and उसका जो result है वो around 4 to 6 months चलता है, but it doesn't create any regeneration, or it should not be repeated. वो बार बार नहीं दे सकते हैं. तो जब patient को बहुत pain हो और short term में relief चाहिए, तो as a temporary relief or is bridging the gap, we may give a steroid. Otherwise it is not advised knee joint on a regular basis. For once in a while or in an acute situation where patients is not able to move much, we can give a steroids and to make quality of life better. But for a better purpose we should choose hyaluronic acid or a PRP. So that's a stage 1 disease where we have already discussed what can be done. Now if the patient is presents to us in grade 2 or grade 3, or disease progresses to grade 2 and grade 3, you can see the joint space. इधर आप देख सकते हो कि joint space grade 1 में थोड़ा सा कम हुआ था, इधर ज्यादा कम हो गया है, और in grade 3 it is quite less. And you can, if you can assess, the limb has started in varus position. There is now some bending in the knee joint at the level of the joint, genu varum. So now the point is, medicine are not going to work in the grade 2 and grade 3 disease. The total knee replacement, it's not the right answer to these patients. Why? because these patients are in the age group of less than 50. So they are definitely not a good candidate for knee replacements. The arthritis is in early part, and these are young active patients. They want everything in their life. They want to kneel down, they want to do hiking activities, they want to play sports, and they are still active in their business and life, and they have very good knee function. So knee replacement is the it is meant for elderly and low demand patients. So we must have options which can take care of grade 2 and grade 3 osteoarthritis disease. इस यही एक important area है जहाँ पे joint preservation is a we have to do. So grade 2 and grade 3 disease, what are the options? अपने पास options क्या है? So if we go for a joint preservation, the time tested thing is high tibial osteotomy surgery. Here the surgery part starts. Up till now, grade 1 and to some extent of grade 2, we can go for conservative treatment. But once the disease is not controlled by medicines and the other therapeutic measures, we need to undergo for surgical aspects. So joint preservation is through high tibial osteotomy, and joint replacement, maybe not a total knee replacement, but a unicondylar knee replacement. That's a partial knee replacement. So let's go first with high tibial osteotomy. So what are the goals of this procedure? So as we already know that grade 2 and grade 3, the alignment of the knee joint is altered. The joint है वो अंदर की ओर मोड़ना शुरू हो गया है. So we have to, the weight is more on the medial compartment and there is no load coming on the lateral compartment. So the goal of this surgery is to transfer the weight from arthritic part of the knee to the healthier area, from the medial compartment of the knee joint to center or slightly on the lateral compartment of the knee joint. Second is to correct the poor knee alignment. Third is to prolong the lifespan of the knee joint. We want to increase the knee joint life. And fourth is to delay or to avoid the knee replacement. So these are the goals. Now we can see here the reduction in the joint space. Here the red area shows that it is loading on the medial compartment, and the cartilage on the medial compartment is now getting worn out as compared to lateral compartment where the cartilage is good. And we see the balance has been shifted on the medial side. Now if we see the scanogram, like the hip knee ankle axis, this is the normal axis. यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं जो हिप में से पास हुई लाइन अगर एंकल को जोड़ी जाए तो नी के सेंटर में से पास होती है. For this kind of patients in grade 2 and grade 3 disease, if the line is drawn from the center of the hip joint to the center of the ankle joint, it actually passes off the knee joint on the medial side. And if you can appreciate, the right knee is 13° varus and the left knee is 15° varus in this particular patient. And you can appreciate the decrease in the joint space on the medial side. Now the solution is high tibial osteotomy. What we do, we do this scanogram and we measure the angle of correction. And to briefly give you idea, we in the tibia, proximal tibia, we take a bone cut and we open the joint in the medial side, and then the joint axis, here you can appreciate the yellow line is on the medial compartment, but as the joint gap is opened and it is fixed with plate, after shifting the knee on the lateral side, the new hip knee ankle axis is now passing to the center of the knee joint. So here by cutting this knee at the proximal yellow line and opening the joint on the medial side, we are shifting the hip knee ankle axis from the medial compartment of the knee joint, from medial compartment to the center on the lateral. We will see in the surgery, you can see the healed osteotomy. So this is the high tibial osteotomy. What we do in this surgery, these are the surgical steps. The first picture is showing up the incision line on the medial side of the knee. This is the patella. This circle is showing the patellar surface, and this is patellar tendon, and this is tibial tuberosity. So the incision on the medial side of the tibia, on the fluoroscopic guidance, on the X-ray guidance when we are doing surgery, जब हम surgery करते हैं तो हमारे पास जो मशीन होती है फ्लोरोस्कोपी सर्जरी मशीन, तो उसके अंदर हम लोग पहले एक्सिस मार्क करते हैं जो हम हिप नी एंकल एक्सिस बोलते हैं. वहां पे सेंटर ऑफ हिप में एक रॉड रखा जाता है, उस के सेंटर पे रखा जाता है, and then we see that where it passes on the knee joint. So you can see it is passing on the medial side of the knee joint. This is pre-operative, before the surgery has started. This is what we measure. and then we know that how much correction is needed through the hip knee ankle axis scanogram. Now next, you can see the incision is guide pins on from the lateral side, so from the medial side of the knee joint to the lateral side, aiming at the patellar fibula tip. So this is the angle of correction from where we put two guide wires under CM guidance, and then here we take this cut. We cut the tibia at below the guide wire and the medial side, and then yes, then we put osteotomes to open up the gap. Now here you can see the osteotomes, and these osteotomes are going, 3 or 4 osteotomes are going inside of that gap that we created, and the joint is opened up, right? And if you can appreciate here, the in this picture you can see from the center of the hip joint, this rod is going in the center of the ankle joint, and after opening of the joint on the medial side through this spreader, I have shifted this line on the center or slightly off the center, and that we can completely check on the X-ray. Here again, this is intraoperative X-ray that we can take on a fluoroscopy guidance, and you can see it is slightly now shifted on the off the center, and it is about 66% of the total tibial plateau. Like this is 50%, this is 50%. So slightly, the aim is to go to slightly on the lateral side so that the whole load on the medial side, जो भी medial side पे load हो रहा था अब तक, वो अभी shift होके just on the initiation of the lateral compartment पे चला गया. And after creating that, you can see the gap that has been opened up here in the lower CM guidance picture, and then the arrow here in this clinical picture is showing that iliac crest graft is taken, and that is being placed inside of the gap as a bone graft. After that is completed, that is fixed with this plate, and you can, if you can see, there is a bone graft you can appreciate in the gap of the tibial cut, and the plate is fixed in this, and now the limb is mechanically valgus position. Now one of the example that I want to share here, this lady is having the 13 degree of varus knee position, and that lady was only 35-year-old lady, so that was causing her knee pain on the medial side. Now here the varus knee axis is creating early knee degeneration. I've already said at times cartilage start degenerating, or at times the axis is in varus such that the cartilage secondarily starts degenerating or getting eroded. So here this patient was having a 13 degree of knee axis, and you can appreciate here this 13 degree of varus by tibia vara. Tibia is in internal alignment. So what I did this surgery and I kept in valgus alignment. Now if you can appreciate this limb in this clinical picture, this red arrow in the last figure is showing up. It's a completely mechanical valgus alignment, and this patient can have a normal squatting and cross leg sitting position. And benefit of this patient, this thing is the patient can do everything that they want to do. There is no restrictions of cross leg sitting or squatting. Patient नीचे भी बैठ सकता है, Indian toilet भी use कर सकता है, or he can do everything. And this procedure is very important for farmers, laborers who wants to do high demand activities, because preserving joint in these cases is very important. Another 5-year follow-up cases can do everything. These patients can walk, run all around, and can have a normal squatting of the normal cross leg, वो नीचे भी properly बैठ सकता है. So that's the 5-year follow of this patient. So that is very great surgery. Another results. So this the benefit of this surgery, यहाँ पे joint जो naturally वो preserve होता है. Patient can do squatting and cross leg sitting. आपको 10 से 15 साल और मिल जाएंगे, और जब भी पेशेंट 30, 35, 40 या 45 साल का होता है, So TKR is usually advised after the age of 55 or 60. So we have to buy that gap. If patient is properly managing weight, exercise and everything, it may be the last surgery for that person. He may in future. So it is very important, अगर आपका joint second or third degree में है और आप अपना care नहीं लेते हो, तो you are actually damaging your knee joint to go for knee replacement. So most of the patient, हम इंडिया में जो trend है, most of the patient stretch कि मेडिसिन लेते हैं और जब भी होएगा हम लोग knee replacement कर लेंगे. Nothing wrong about that, but then you are avoiding natural knee preserving surgeries to work. So my advice to young arthritic knee is to go early for this procedure and to avoid knee replacement. And the benefit of this procedure, if at all your knee HTO, high tibial osteotomy, does not work longer, then also it is possible that you can go convert into a TKR in a later date when you are 55, 60. So that will bridge the gap, and TKR lifespan is around 20 years. So after 60, patient goes for knee replacement. Then at the age of 80, most of the lifespan is complete, and the average life expectancy of Indian person is around 70. So it will be okay for his life to go for one knee replacement only once. But if he has to go for knee replacement at the age of 45, 50, then he might end up in at the age of 60 or 65 to go for a knee revision knee replacement. And more the TKR done at the early age, then patient can have a lesser lifespan of TKR, because अगर patient का 50 years के अंदर TKR होता है तो patient is very active, तो TKR जो 20 साल चलता है in a low demand patient उतना नहीं चलेगा. Only exception to this rule is rheumatoid or inflammatory arthritis. अगर उसके लिए अगर हम TKR करते हैं, rheumatoid cases can have a TKR even at the age of 35 because their joints are damaged by a disease and not by aging. So in that case, we do early knee replacement, and rest of the cases we avoid delaying knee replacement till the age of 55 or 60. So indication of high tibial osteotomy is young active patient, athlete, labor, only medial compartment affected, and less than 15 degree of varus. Up till 15 degree of varus, we can correct with HTO. कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेशन, अगर आपका लेटरल कंपार्टमेंट अच्छा नहीं है, बाहर का जॉइंट अच्छा नहीं है जिधर हम वेट डाल रहे हैं, तो देन इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर टीबिया मतलब में टीबिया सबलक्सेट कर रहा है, वो मूव हो रहा है साइड टू साइड, ज्यादा लेक्सिटी है, तो भी ये वर्क नहीं कर सकता है. अगर आपका घुटना 15 डिग्री से ज्यादा मुड़ा कॉन्ट्रैक्चर, नी फ्लेक्शन अगर 90 डिग्री से कम है ना, तो भी ये वर्क, इट्स नॉट अ गुड प्रोसीजर. करेक्शन 15 डिग्री से ज्यादा करना है तो इट्स नॉट अ गुड. रूमेटॉइड और एनी इन्फ्लेमेटरी आर्थराइटिस, उसके लिए ये पोजीशन प्रोसेस अच्छा नहीं है. और पेरिफेरल वास्कुलर डिसीज, अगर लोअर लिम्ब में वास्कुलर स्टेटस अच्छा नहीं है, either from peripheral vascular disease or from anything, then it has a problem in healing. So that is important. Pre-operative planning, as I already said, scanogram, जो हिप नी एंकल है वो देखना जरूरी है. MRI करना जरूरी है कि मीडियल कंपार्टमेंट में कितना कार्टिलेज डैमेज हुआ है और लेटरल कंपार्टमेंट अच्छा है कि नहीं, वो भी देखना जरूरी है. और पैटेलोफीमोरल जॉइंट अर्ली डिजनरेशन हो तो चलेगा, उससे ज्यादा इश्यू है तो देन पेशेंट माइट बी बेटर विथ medial compartment problem, but still he may have pain from patellofemoral joint. So we have to take care कि patellofemoral joint is not much damaged. And to rule out any meniscal pathology or ligament issue, अगर वो है तो वो कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेशन नहीं है, लेकिन आर्थ्रोस्कोपी करके एट द सेम टाइम ऑफ HTO मेनिस्कस पैथोलॉजी और लिगामेंटस प्रॉब्लम्स वी कैन मैनेज. एक स्पेशल कंडीशन होता है, मेरे काफी पेशेंट्स ऐसे आते हैं तो नॉर्मली थोड़े दिन पेन होता है और वो लोग मेडिसिन वगैरह लेके चला लेते हैं, और सडनली व्हाट हैपेंस व्हाइल क्लाइंबिंग स्टेयर्स और कुर्सी से खड़े होने में, या तो गाड़ी पे टू व्हीलर पे बैठने में सडनली दे फील अ स्नैप, कोई आवाज आती है घुटने के अंदर, और देन सडनली दे आर नॉट एबल टू बेयर वेट. नाउ व्हाई दिस हैपेंस? This is and then that patients can have a posteromedial the medial joint line pain, and the diagnosis is meniscus root tear. Now what is that? The meniscus that is inside of the knee joint is supported anteriorly and posteriorly by its fixation to tibia, but when the knee joint is loaded on the medial compartment, varus of the knee joint, mechanical axis is deviated into the medial compartment, it overloads the medial knee joint, and then posterior horn of the posterior root of the medial meniscus get torn out. You can see here the white space is damaged root. Here is the root. Here you can see the end of the lateral meniscus is seen here. The medial meniscus is broken. Here there is no medial meniscus. That is called ghost sign on MRI. You can see the meniscus posterior root is torn. That is because of overloaded position. That is why we ask patients not to squat once you start arthritis. अगर आप ज़्यादा squat करते हो, नीचे बैठते हो, Indian toilet में बैठते हो, you are increasing the chances of root damage, and then it creates problems. So what we do arthroscopic root repair. Here we take the stitch of the medial meniscus and tie it with the tibia. And in this case, tying along with that, if the axis of the knee joint is in varus position, then we have to correct at the same time. If we just do the root repair, then this root is going to tear again, or it may not heal because it is going to load again in the same position. So it must be, if the axis of the knee joint is less than 4 to 6 degree, then we just do root repair. But if it is more than 4 to 6 degree of varus, then we add high tibial osteo the medial compartment to reduce the load on the medial compartment. And in older age group, this same condition happens at the age of 60, we avoid root repair because it is not a fruitful condition, because cartilage is already gone there in most of the cartilage. So doing just a root repair is, it's just a, correcting one problem out of the box. So it is better to go for a knee replacement in these cases. Another important thing is partial knee replacement. So as we already see that medial compartment only has a problem, and in these cases if there is a root repair, then one option is root repair plus high tibial osteotomy, and another option the same setting is partial knee replacement, that the only medial compartment is damaged, then only we replace the half of the knee. That is, you can see the medial bone to bone disease here, and here we have replaced the half of the knee joint. But the prerequisite is grade 2, grade 3 bone on bone. If the joint space is seen, still we prefer to go for high tibial osteotomy. Or if the HTO. Again, the criteria is same as high tibial osteotomy. Both have a similar indication. The only thing here that you need is intact anterior cruciate ligament, healthy lateral compartment, and tibia vara should be minimum. If there is a, apart from the varus at the knee joint, if the tibia is bored on the medial side, then correcting only at the knee joint from the UKR will not work. In that cases, high tibial osteotomy is a better option. So medial compartment is gone and the medial compartment is replaced. That is the partial knee replacement, and it has a better advantages in the age group of less than 50 up till 55. It is not dependent on the age. UKR can even be done at the age of 60, 65, depending upon the physiological age of the patient. If the patient is young, active, even at the age of 60 with only medial compartment disease, अगर उसका disease है only medial compartment में है और उसका age भले ही 60 हो, then still he is a good candidate for UKR. But UKR is a challenging surgery, and its lifespan is around 10 to 15 years. So another option at a higher age group or at the higher stages of the disease, that is at the stage 3 and 4 disease, we can see the whole of the medial compartment is already gone and the disease has started going into the lateral compartment. There is tibial subluxation on the lateral sides, the lateral part of the tibia यहाँ पे बाहर आना दिख रहा है, और there is an extreme varus position. And if you assume कि अगर ये एक्सिस जो हिप से एंकल को हम लाइन ड्रॉ करें, तो that is definitely going to be quite extreme inside, like here in the last x-ray you can appreciate. And clinically these patients knee are like this, they are bow-legged. Now high tibial osteotomy is not going to work, partial knee replacement is not going to work, and the only and the better indication in stage 4 disease is total knee replacement. Now let us see what is done in knee replacement. So here, like on a 55 year, like 60 year male, you can see this right leg is having a varus, and he is having a issue like this right leg. You can see the limp while walking and varus. Now what is done as a procedure, we take a medial incision, entry midline incision, and we take a medial parapatellar approach. Medial parapatellar approach means from the medial side of the patella, the incision is taken from the quadriceps muscle across the patella and up till the patellar tendon on the medial side. Now, after opening of the knee joint, and removing all the osteophytes across the femur, and you can, if you can appreciate the cartilage on the medial compartment here, this black area, if you can see, this is the damaged and torn out cartilage. And here, if you can see this white area, this is the preserved cartilage. But here the disease has already gone from the medial compartment to the center part and to the lateral compartment. And in the tibia, you can see here this thing. Now, what are we doing? We are creating a hole on the center of the femur, and we are opening the medullary canal of the femur. Just a minute. So after opening the canal, we are now taking the distal femoral. Before going further, the goal of the knee replacement is same as like HTO. We have to correct the mechanical axis of the knee joint. We have to get back the correction of the varus, and if the line mechanical axis like hip to knee to ankle, that axis has to corrected back to normal. So here we are taking the distal femoral cut, and this cut is in 6 degree of valgus. So in TKR, we know that anatomical axis of the knee joint is passes through the medullary canal, and we are putting a rod inside it, and with that we are putting a 6 degree of valgus. So when this jig will cut the femur, it will create, so that will create 6 degree of valgus position of the femur. So here we are taking the distal femur, we are removing the damaged cartilage from the distal femur. And after that cutting distal femur, you can appreciate here that the distal femoral cartilage part is removed. Now here is the medial tibial, medial femoral epicondyle, and here is the lateral femoral epicondyle. We draw a transepicondylar axis because we have to give a 3 degree of external rotation, and we have to keep the component of the femur in 3 degree of external rotation. So in this position, we are drawing a lateral line as this trans axis, and another is wide side axis, that is vertical line. That gives an axis where to put our jig, and in that way we cut, like we are fixing up this jig in 3 degree external rotation. We are taking the size of the, here is the arrow shows how to take the size, what kind of femur component will be there, kitna size aayega, that we measure, right? After that we are putting a 4-in-1 jig. Now this is to cut down the femur from all side. We are checking is there any impingement of the bone, and we are not cutting the extra bone. So in this video we are fixing this jig, and then we are cutting from the front. We are cutting the front part of the knee joint, and after that for cutting, we are cutting the another jig, and then we are cutting the center part. So we are removing all the diseased part, and we are preparing the femur for getting the femoral implant. Now you can appreciate here that the whole of the femur is now ready, and we are putting a component, trial component, just to get that it is properly matching to the anatomy of the knee joint. Now taking the next step is femoral tibial preparation. Now we are fixing the anatomical jig in the anatomical axis of the tibia. In the center of the tibia, at the tibial plateau, and at the ankle, we are putting a jig, and we are fixing such that whatever cut we take is exactly perpendicular to the tibial plateau. And this is how we measure about 8 mm to 9 mm cut. And then we are cutting this tibial bone. Now the tibia and the front is prepared and femur in 4-in-1 is prepared. And now we are checking the extension gap, whether in extension the knee is stable or not. And then we are removing any extra bone and we are taking the size of the tibia in the front. What tibial component will come? Here it shows 5. We have to cover every part of the tibial bone. And then check it with proper thing. Then we prepare the patella. The patellar cartilage that is damaged, there is a special jig through which we fix and decide 8 mm of the patellar cut. The minimum thickness of the patella has to be around 22 mm. If it is less than, chances by replacing patella, it may create fracture of the patella. So if it is less than 22, we try to not to replace the patella, but to remove the osteophyte, and we do patelloplasty. That is clearing out all the osteophytes, removing any impinging things on the patella, and then we denervate the periphery of the patella with cautery. But here we are replacing this, but in this case we are replacing the patella, and then we are doing a peg holes in patellar bone and putting a trial implant. You can see tibial trial, and if you can appreciate here, this is the femoral trial, this is tibial trial, this is a plastic, blue color plastic is a insert, that is the in a artificial meniscus that we can see. And here is the patellar preparation, patellar component, as we already checked here, this yellow green one. And after putting all trial implants, we are checking for the stability of the knee joint in flexion and extension. This is the checking that patellar tracking is proper, the patellar component is traveling into the trial femoral component in the groove without any extra tension, and there is no medial opening and lateral opening, and the anteroposterior stability of the knee joint is perfect. Now this is what we do on table. After doing that, we finally prepare the tibia. We put a hole in tibia such that it incorporates the tibial component, and then any sclerotic bones. On the medial side of the tibia, the bone is sclerotic. So we put some drill holes to open up the channels of a subchondral bone such that it incorporates with cement well. Now finally, after all preparation, we put cement in tibia. And we put the final tibial component. And then we compress into the tibial bone. Then we remove extra cements outside of the component. Then we put cement on the femoral side and putting the final femoral implant and hammering it such that it gets completely impacted into the femur bone. And then putting the trial insert. This is a trial insert. Again, we are checking again for the stability with the trial insert and putting the tibial implant, patellar implant. And compressing the patella to the base. And this is the final insert. This is white color, final insert. And then with that, we complete the procedural part, and then we check for the stability of the knee joint in again flexion and extension. And this is the final implant that we can see here in this patellar, this position. And this is the post of X-ray. If you can appreciate, there are no osteophytes now. You can appreciate the medial and lateral gap properly. You can see that there is no bony impingement anywhere. And in APN lateral view, there is a complete clear. If we assume that the femur is here and the line is drawn from the center of the hip to ankle, it will pass through center of the knee joint. So in that way, if this criteria is achieved, then your TKRI is going to be successful. So here I just wanted to say these are the post of in Indian scenario. What we see is a typical desire for the patient कि मुझे नीचे बैठना है, पलटी मार के बैठना है और इंडियन टॉयलेट में बैठना है. So currently the current implants are such that high flexion activities are allowed. These activities कर सकते हैं, but with always a caution. A caution in that sense कि अगर आपको अपना घुटना आफ्टर रिप्लेसमेंट लंबा चलाना है तो you should avoid cross leg sitting and squatting. मैं आपको अगर एग्जांपल दूं, अगर आपके पास मर्सिडीज कार है और आपके अंदर बैठा हुआ ड्राइवर ठीक नहीं है, वो गाड़ी के अंदर ज्यादा रहेगी ऐसा नहीं है. अगर आप फ्रंटी गाड़ी चलाते हो, मारुति फ्रंटी, लेकिन अंदर बैठा ड्राइवर अच्छा गाड़ी चलाता है, अच्छा सर्विसिंग करता है, उसकी अच्छी संभाल रखता है, तो शायद मारुति फ्रंटी मर्सिडीज से ज्यादा अच्छी चल सकती है. इन दैट सेम सिनारियो, अगर आपका घुटना रिप्लेस किया हुआ है और आप अपनी पूरी तैयारी रखते हैं, अपना वेट कंट्रोल रखते हैं, आप एक्सरसाइज रेगुलर करते हो, आप नीचे बैठने की एक्टिविटीज को रिस्ट्रिक्ट करते हो, दैट यू may end up your life with only one knee replacement for the lifetime. Instead of 15 to 20 years, it may last for 30 years or more. So it is completely in your hand how much or how long your knee will last after knee replacement. So knee replacement is for grade 4 knee disease and not earlier than that. Couple of examples here. This lady, you can see the pre-operative walk, how she is walking very slow, extreme tibia vara, needs to take support. उसको अपने stick लेनी पड़ रही है चलने के लिए. And then after a 1 month time, you see the same lady. In this case, in knee replacement, I have to place a tibial stem. I have to place an extra rod into the tibia to keep it straight. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring X-ray of this patient, but we could have appreciated that there is an extreme varus of the tibia and there was a fracture of the tibia at the proximal part, and these patients I had to treat with the proximal tibial stem. Another lady needs support by 2 ladies to walk. This is an extreme grade 4 position, and this lady after knee replacement, you can get the dramatic and extraordinary results if there is a right indication and the right patient and right surgical procedure. You can again appreciate this lady. Now she is walking with a waddling gait or a limp, and now this lady is able to walk perfectly right. So where knee replacement stands? So it is a grade 4 disease with bone-to-bone disease or late grade 3 disease. There is some option if there is a late grade 3 disease, patient is at the age of 60 or more, it's better to give a knee replacement rather than a conservative procedure in these patients, because they want only one surgery and that too early recovery. So in that cases, in exceptional cases of grade 3, we can go for knee replacements. And it is typically meant for elderly low demand patients. Here, the goal is pain relief over a longer period of time, improved knee motion and strength, and improved function and quality of life. So to summarize case, if there is grade 1, then we should go with NSAIDs, physiotherapy, walking support, knee cape, weight reduction, dietary advice, physiotherapy advice. If needed, then PRP injections or hyaluronic acid injections. That will take care of the stage 1 disease. If the patient has stage 2 and stage 3 disease, then you can go for high tibial osteotomy or unicondylar knee replacement, and that too with physiotherapy, combination of treatment, and of course, reduction of weight is mandatory in all stages, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4. And in extreme varus, it is important that treatment of choice is knee replacement. So thank you for quiet listening to me from my side about arthritis of the knee and its management protocol. I tried to make it more simpler, but I'm opening this session for any questions that you want to ask to me. Yes, Dr. Mehul, can you please take over?
Yes, sir. Wonderful session, sir. Very informative. You have covered all the grades of OA, and in each grade, what will be the treatment protocol that you have explained very nicely. And the important part that you have explained where to preserve and where to operate. That was the important part. And top on that, you added the ice on a cake. That was the surgical part that you showed the videos also. I would like to share the news to all the viewers and the listeners is these are the surgery performed by the surgeon itself, and successfully all the patients are having a smile on their faces. So, we had a great opportunity to learn from you, sir. We had a good time with you. And now it's time for a question and answer session.
Yes.
Any of the students would like to ask, they can ask the question in the Dropbox, and then we will further discuss on that.
Yes.
Sir, one of the student or the one of the listener asked me during the session that, sir, can you repeat the stage of the degenerations? Like, what are the stages of the degeneration? She wanted to listen you again.
So should I go to the screen or I just describe?
You just describe, sir, not an issue. You just describe, not an issue, sir.
Okay. Let me go back to the slide that will help me to describe it properly.
Yeah, no issue, sir.
Just a minute.
Yeah. By the time the other students, keep your questions ready. If you want to ask anything further, there is one more question. Let the first question get addressed. The second we will come slower.
So here you can see the first is a normal knee X-ray. The space in the medial and outer compartment, inner and outer compartment. The arrow, the blue arrow is showing the space area. If you appreciate, the medial and lateral compartments are equal. This is an X-ray diagnosis. On a symptom, patient can have a symptoms severe even in grade 1 and even in less symptoms in grade 4. So only symptoms don't decide the stage. So stages are decided. This is called Kellgren low scaling. So KL grade scaling. So in grade 1, there is a small reduction in the joint space. And this yellow line is a presumed HKA axis, hip knee ankle axis, presumed. So here, this line in the top will go to hip and this lower go to ankle, and that you see it passes through center. Here it passes just off the center, and there's a small reduction in the medial joint space. That is grade 1. Here it is grade 2. There is more reduction in the joint space, and the line passes about 30% on the medial side. Then it goes around 50% on the medial compartment, and the reduction in the joint space you can appreciate as compared to medial compartment. In the last stage, there is a bone-to-bone disease. There is no actual space is seen in the medial compartment. At the same time, if you appreciate, there is a varus. TBI is going inside. And the axis, which in the normal was center, it is now off the center and square of the center. So these are stage 4. That's a staging.
Yes,
staging. Yeah.
So the one who has asked the question might have got the answer. So now we have another question that what treatment protocol for the patient we should decide if the patient is having the diabetes or the vascular disease. If the patient is suffering from uncontrolled diabetes, or if the patient is suffering from varicose kind of vein or DVT, any vascular disease, or the Berger disease or Raynaud disease. So in such cases, so what protocol we should follow? Should we go for it or not?
So we will talk in 2 different conditions. First is diabetes. So uncontrolled diabetes itself is not a absolute contraindication to surgery. It's a relative thing which can be controlled properly we have to control diabetes fully, and then we can go for knee replacement, because in diabetes there is increased chance of normal people. But that does not mean we cannot do. We can control the diabetes with proper dietary and exercise and medicinal regulations, and then we can go for a knee replacement. About other things like vascular status of the lower limb. About if the vascular status is compromised, and we are afraid that it can compromise in tissues, then we have to correct that vascular status first. If there is a blockage or a thrombus or anything, that can be corrected by vascular surgery or medicine, whatever way. We have to incorporate vascular surgeon inside, and once he gives a green signal that that limb is survivable after replacement, then we can go for a knee replacement. If by chance there is a severe compromise and we are unsure of the conditions to improve, then better to avoid knee replacement. That's the best way to go for it, right? And then instead of that, instead of going for a knee replacement, maybe that patient has to go with kind of an arthrodesis. Even that requires a good vascular status, but then that's a difficult situations to deal. We try to get vascular status as far as possible, either by vascular bypass or anything that settles down the problem. And most of the peripheral vascular diseases are below knee joint. So if by any kind of bypass can work out, then we can go for it, or either we have to avoid that condition. That's the way we have to go.
Okay, thank you, sir. One more question, sir. That if in stage 1 or stage 2, if you are planning to go for an NSAIDs kind of treatment and all, and if you are planning to go for an injections that we are putting into the knee, then where exactly the location and how we are proceeding further? Where exactly we are putting an injection, like in condyles or between the condyles or between the meniscus or in the tibiofibral component? Where exactly and how we are gaining access into it?
Okay, fine. So the injection is not inside any bone; it is inside the joint space. So it is mixed up with the synovial fluid. So when we inject, there are different portals through which we can go inside of the joint. Like in the medial side of the patellar tendon at the level of joint, or on the lateral side at the level of patellar tendon, we can go in, or from the superolateral portal. These are arthroscopy portals, or even when we aspirate the knee joint, there are specific points from where we can enter the knee joint. But the point here to make is, it is not inside of any condyle or any bone. It is straightforward into the synovial fluid. It mixes up with the synovial fluid, gets spread over, and helps in the it works by getting diffusion process and getting mixed up with the fluid, and helps in the reduction in the toxins that comes into the fluid of the synovial fluid. So it is not directly regenerating any cartilage. Like HA, hyaluronic acid, is itself a component of a synovial fluid. So we are putting back what is not inside. So synovial fluid is an oil which gets mixed into the fluid that is inside, and it lubricates the joint. PRP also gets mixed with the fluid, and it, by diffusion process, it helps in some regeneration of the cartilage. Even it is a steroid, it is only inside of the joint, not to any special bone point.
Okay,
yeah.
Got the point, sir. Yeah, got the point. And now, so there is a one more question. Then, whenever we talked about the patient having a OA knee, okay, so at that time, mostly we are focusing on the genu varum rather than genu valgum.
Yeah.
Like medial compression, we have talked about. Whenever we see the case medial compression, we talked about. Even in the genu valgum, there is a lateral compression. So what about that? Because the cartilage is also getting damaged over there. Meniscus is also present over there, getting damaged over there. The joint space is also getting reduced over there. So at that time, when we are taking care of a medial component, why don't we take care of a lateral component? So what exactly we are looking forward at that point of time?
So absolutely right, Dr. Mehul. If we describe the ratio of arthritic component, then 95%, or even I would say 98% patients are medial compartment osteoarthritis. About 2% of the patients are lateral compartment osteoarthritis or valgus knee arthritis. So in either there can be a prior trauma or there can be some issues with the patient's bony formations, like during the child or anywhere there is hypoplasia of the lateral compartment that initiates the process of lateral compartment degeneration. Most of the time there is a cause for the lateral compartment issues. In that case, in the initial case is the management. If it is a stage 1, the management remains same. If it is stage 2, then probably the best part is again higher tibial osteotomy, but here is the thing is reverse. We cut instead of medial side, we will take a cut on the lateral side, or on the medial side we do a medial closing osteotomy. So instead of transferring weight from medial to lateral, here we will transform from lateral to medial. So that is possible, but it is very rarely required procedure, but it can be done on the same scientific basis. And in last stage, grade 4 in the arthritis, definitely TKR is again same option for both the things, whether it's a MCOA or LCOA, medial compartment or lateral compartment. So these are the options.
Correct, sir. And the one more interesting question, sir. Then whenever we are operating, if we are removing the meniscus along with all the bony fragments and all, so at that time, what about the proprioceptions of the knee joint? If we are moving the meniscus, so
Yes,
at times what will happen with the proprioceptions?
We already know the proprioceptive fibers and receptors are there in anterior cruciate ligaments, meniscus, or in the capsule around. Everywhere there are proprioceptive fibers, and inside of the knee replacement surgery, we are removing ACL, meniscus, and a lot of proprioceptive receptors area. But it's not completely removed. There are proprioceptive fibers in patellar tendon, around patella, and many other places inside of the capsule. So definitely the proprioceptive confidence of the patients of a natural knee joint and an artificial knee patient is definitely less. But over a period of time, these patients, through their activities and everything, and through the proprioceptive learning that we do with the physiotherapy, are better accessed. Although they will definitely feel a bit less as compared to a natural knee joint, but definitely they come back to near normal on a longer run.
Okay, got your point, sir. One more question, sir. A quite interesting one. A patient is suffering from certain problems, like as we said, while walking, there isn't a problem, sir. Pain is there in a medial component. As you said, 90% are more chances having a medial component rather than the lateral component. So while walking, there isn't a pain. So definitely while cross-sitting, there will be a pain. While stair climbing, there will be a pain. While doing the household activities, there will be pain. And the patient is obese also. And the patient is fitting into the category of like around age of 40 to 45 or 50s around. So the patients are having a complaint very worst, but when clinically is examined and the investigation is done and degeneration cascade has been seen, at that time the x-ray shows very mild degeneration, but the patient is exhibiting the symptoms like as if like he is or she is in a grade 3 or grade 4. So at that time the patient's symptoms are completely different and not matching to the investigation. So at that time, what will be the line of treatment, and how a physio point of view or how an orthopedician point of view correlately they should match with the treatment?
So in that case is when the X-ray picture radiological image is showing grade 1, but the patient is having severe symptoms, and this patient is obese at the age of 42. So there are likely that the radiology, either the X-ray is, first of all check that X-ray is taken in weight bearing view, that is first, so that you are not misgrading the disease. That is very commonly seen. So weight bearing view of the AP is important, and a Rosenberg view. Second is maybe because of root tear of the meniscus, because these patients, very obese patients, while squatting and cross-legging may damage the root, or meniscus tear may be there, that is causing the higher level of pain. That may be a cause. So inside of these patients, first we go through MRI. So to find out how much is the cartilage is gone, and how is there any other thing which is creating pain like meniscus or root tear. If it is there, we correct that. At the same time, we advise patients, if they are morbidly obese, like 100 kg or plus, or these patients, to go for bariatric surgeries, because they are still in grade 1 disease. And if they don't do anything, definitely they are going to go for 2, 3, and 4. So if they are at the age of 40 and they go for a bariatric surgery, possible they might not need any other surgery. They might even complete with nothing doing in knee, just or at the most doing an arthroscopy and doing a bariatrics. So in that case, his patient can be saved of future major knee surgery issues. So that is very important. In by chance, if the hip knee ankle axis is showing more than 6 or more, at that cases and the patient is not better with normal conservative measures apart from physio, that what we do in physio, then definitely high tibial osteotomy or a unicondylar knee replacement may be a good choice in that case. Obesity is not a contraindication for unicondylar knee replacement.
Okay, got your point. So very straight and very clear. There is one more question, sir. Is there any chance that the OA knee and knock knee comes together at one point of time?
OA, yeah, because OA creates deformity of the knee joint, right? And
Yeah,
it can, in a valgus knee, you might have a knock knee, right?
correct,
So
correct.
in that case is, but that can be an extreme, because what we see knock knee in the younger age group through osteomalacia or a rickets, there is no decrease in the medial joint space. But because either there is a deformity at the level of tibia or femur that is creating a knock knee, so we need to correct the bone level issues. But at the level of arthritis, there I haven't seen much of the knock knee or absolute knock knee. Or we have seen cases where there is one knee valgus and one knee is varus. Why? Because valgus knee is most often a pathologic one. There may be some prior history of trauma or something like that. So we don't
Hmm.
appreciate much of knock over there.
Okay, got your point, sir.
Yeah.
That it is very rarely occurs, not
Yeah.
simultaneous.
Yeah.
And sir, if we talk about the wedge surgeries, then what would be the exact or appropriate time that we could expect for the healing? Like how long it will take for a wedge surgeries to get healed?
Right. So with the advances in the technology, the bone that we do high tibial osteotomy or wedge surgery. Initially, we used to give weight bearing at 3 weeks or 6 weeks time. But with the advances of the imported plates and with the proper surgery, we could make it patient walk with a partial weight bearing in a week or so. So that's possible. And usually bone heals by 6 to 12 weeks time. So you can say up till 6 weeks, partial to full weight bearing gradually starts, and another 6 weeks, and by 3 months, patient will be back to life.
Physio should take care of. Like whenever you're operating, you are expecting the patient to walk by 3 months back to the normal life. So at that time, what all things that you take as a precaution along with the physio, that one should have certain things in their brain, in their mind, in the sense that we have to follow this protocol only strictly.
Okay. So first of all, you always should talk to a surgeon, or at least there should be a communication between a surgeon and the physio. Why? Because the surgery may not be equal in every patient. The patient's bones are weak or not, how much the correction is done, whether the bone graft was placed or not, whether the plate was Indian or imported, and when to start this weight bearing. So couple of things that you should discuss with your surgeon first, such that you can have a better confidence with the patient treatment. And usually if the procedure is going right, what the physiotherapy should focus is to strengthen the all muscles, like anti-gravity muscles like calf, hamstrings, quadriceps, to strengthen. Initially in the first 3 to 6 weeks time, the range of motion, or in the initial 10 to 15, it should go to 90 degree and then gradually go beyond 90 degree after 10 to 15 days. But the protocol might vary from patient to patients to some extent. More or
Correct.
less, my protocol is in the first week, partial weight bearing. If everything is fine, then I will allow full weight bearing at the end of a week, but with the walker and the brace. And the knee range of motion till 90 degree towards the end of 1 week. And after 1 week, the passive knee range of motion till more than 90 by 3 weeks complete. And at 3 weeks, completely weight bearing. and at 3 weeks he or she might use stick, and but the knee brace is still 6 weeks time, right? And we avoid cross leg sitting and squatting till 3 months till the patient gets complete healing. I would rather advise not to go for a squatting and cross leg sitting. That's how we go. And also physio should take care of hip and ankle strengthening, hip external rotators and abductors, because they play an important roles in the knee function.
Because they are in a close kinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, there is one question from student. She is asking that if we are going for TKR, so in surgery, she must have seen that what you have saw, that with the instrument, we are cutting the bone edges, those who are getting damaged, like the condyles of tibia and condyles of femur, and then you are putting into the artificial joint. So in that case, is there any chance or by chance the calibration may go mismatch or 90-20 kind of sort of things, and later on post-operatively we find that there is a limb length discrepancy?
Okay. So now, moreover, the advanced instrumentations give us a better preoperative and intraoperative scaling than what kind of a cut and how much cut has to be taken. So I would say that most of the time we are in the minor variations of the normal, and because of that, and the experience of the surgeons matters here. And
Correct.
so the dilemma or the variations across the normality will be very less. Of course, with the advance of computer technology and the navigations, we can even get a better precise control over the component alignment and the axis of the limb. So definitely that has a better advantage, but that's not the whole game, because over this instrumentation and experience matters best.
Okay, got your point, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. And there is one more question, sir. That you talked about the high tibial osteotomy. The 3 months is the minimum that you are expecting to patient back to the normal permanent life.
Yeah.
Right, sir. So we have seen that nowadays in advanced scenario, the TKR, the patient is walking on the very first day on a POD 0.
Yeah.
So in that case, don't we think that the TKR is better than the high tibial osteotomy, because it is taking more time to get healed, whereas on the POD 0, patient is on its foot.
Got that point. But here you need to consider HTO is not meant for grade 4 disease and TKR is not meant for grade 2 or 3 disease. Of course, TKR can be done in grade 2 or 3 disease, but consider that if the patient is age of 40 and he is having grade 2 disease, would you like to go for a TKR even though you can walk on day 1?
Correct.
No. Definitely, if the grade 2 disease is at the age of 70, I would rather go for TKR, although HTO can be done, because at that age of the patient's first requirement is to ambulate early, to make mobilize early. So in that case, I will reduce my criteria from grade 4 to even grade 2 at times, because my job is to give patients early quality of life, because as the age advances more than 70, you are likely to have other morbidities like diabetes, blood pressures, or heart attack. So waiting for those cases for TKR might end up at the later age with other issues. So there I release my criteria, but definitely not TKR in less than 50 unless it is rheumatoid.
Okay, got your point, sir.
It's not about how many months you need to recover. It's about right indication in right patient.
Okay, yeah. That was a question, from the layman people side. No, that's why should I wait for 3 months in a bed and then going back to normal life? Instead of that, you can make me on a walk for very first day. So that was the layman person may think of it, when they are coming. Department. And in the society they must have seen that my neighbor has started very next day, and you are still there in a bed for since 3 months.
So that
So
is
the
where
comparison.
that is where the preoperative counseling and the right indication has to be properly explained to patient about
Correct.
what they can expect. If you see a long-term advantage of HTO in a younger age group, patients are young and active, they can do anything they want, while TKR patient at the age of 40 has to restrict the demand of life.
Correct.
The HTO patients can do cross leg sitting and squatting They can jump or whatever they want to do, but TKR patients cannot do. They are not advised to do. So at the age of 40, who would like to get restricted in their lifestyle? No one, right? So it is 3 months is not important. Rather, what are you getting in a longer term? That's important.
Okay, so the one should need longer terms in terms of long way.
So
Yeah,
we as
the
a
vision.
surgeon are also like carpenter. You decides what to do at what time, what works better for that patients. No decision is fine. No decision is finalized. At the age of 45, I might do TKR in a patient with grade 4 disease, rheumatoid cases, or at the age of 60, I might even ask for HTO if the patient is active, wants a natural knee, and the disease is only grade 2. So age is not a fixed criteria. It's about what is the requirement of the patient and what is his life demands and what he expects from life.
And sir, the last question, which is $1 million question, that all the physios and the viewers, the clinicians, mainly the physiotherapist clinicians, and all the students and the viewers would like to ask in the patient when the grade 1 or grade 2, they are coming with the clinical symptoms and matching with the X-ray investigation and scanner, and then you decide that no need for high tibial osteotomy and no need for the even TKR. Definitely it is ruled out if it is grade 1 and grade 2. So at that time, being an orthopedic surgeon, this is the $1 million question, sir. Being a surgeon, what importance you give to the physiotherapy?
Okay, so that's a very important. Rather, I would rather find them a real partner. Or in grade 1, I don't find myself a real requirement. I don't come into picture until only counseling is my part in grade 1. Rest of the real game or real work has to be done by a physio. Okay. Because at that time, the aim or the goal of the disease is to control the disease, to make your muscles around the knee, your anti-gravity, your quads, or your hands, or your calf, everything has to be strong enough. You take care of your, like, if you are pronated foot, take care of your that thing, like, do give a shoe modification, take care of your foot problems, and educate patient, reduce the weight of the patients, give a proper dietary advice, given a holistic approach to the disease itself.
Correct.
And where the orthopedic is having a very less role. So, I really prefer grade 1, grade 2, till I don't do any surgery or even after surgery. Physiotherapy is a real partner to orthopedicians.
Okay, it's a multidisciplinary.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, any other question that would like to shoot? Anyone? It was quite interactive session, sir. So many, the students have asked their queries and they have got the right answers also. And still, if they are having queries, they can, personally ask me. I will send the queries to Dr. Narendra Patel. He will definitely reply back. And
you can give my number also. That's fine. If they are all doctors, I don't mind to give, because here I am there to help you out. So if you can like my number is 99099 14828. If everyone is listening, again 99099 14828. That's my personal number. And if you have any academic queries, you want to ask any questions, I'm happy to help you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Very nice, very interactive session, very informative. Go through the point and very deep penetration. Okay, by being with us. Thanks you again and join with. Bye.
So I also want to thank you, Dr. Mehul and Dr. Prakash, for giving me this opportunity to be with you all, your campus people, all physiotherapy students, and even Facebook Live, to present myself and to give insights about how a knee arthritis works and how I can or we can manage it better for the best of the mankind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking
very much, sir.
Valuable time for all of us. And I appreciate your efforts, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.